Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to my channel. Today is going to be part 2 of the Maura Murray series, and in the first part I really just talked about the case in general. I just talked about basically the sequence of events that happened that led up to her disappearance, but in this video I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. I'm going to be talking about possible causes of her disappearance, and I'm going to be talking about conspiracies and theories as well. If you haven't watched part 1 and you don't know anything about the case, I definitely advise you to watch the first part of the series, and I'll link that down below. So I'm going to start off where I ended in part 1 and just reiterate, I do think that she left on her own. There are lots of reasons I believe this, but I'm just going to list a few and my thoughts behind those. When I think about what happened and just the things she was going through before she disappeared, it makes more and more sense to me why she would have possibly just have left on her own. Her life seemed kind of like it was slowly falling apart and that it was far from perfect. In the last video, I talked about a lot of the drinking problems she had, and that drinking and alcohol kind of were reoccurring in her life. So first of all, in the beginning of the video, of course, I talk about her sister, and I talk about her sister had called her and was telling her that her fiance had brought her to the liquor store, and this is like, you know, right after she had gotten out of rehab for alcoholism. And so, of course, that had triggered her sister, and so this had made Maura like so upset. Of course, she had every right to be upset at that point, because, you know, taking someone who has an addiction to some place that might put them back into that addiction, that's terrible. That's potentially harmful. So I get why she was so upset. She was like crying, saying my sister, and so this seemed like something that would, like, while I think it would really impact you, I don't know if it would impact you to the point where it was, you know, that, I don't know, that reaction. I don't know, people react differently to different things. Some people are softer than others, or, you know, more likely to have bigger feelings towards some things, but I don't see why she had such a huge and worrying reaction to it. Like, it was worrying her manager, like her, you know, people around her, and so that was kind of a little bit off to me. I don't know if maybe she was kind of like seeing herself and her sister's situation. Maybe she was realizing like her own problems with alcohol and just like thinking about that and maybe feeling guilty about it, you know, because when you're talking to someone who's like just getting off their addiction with something and you're addicted to that, I can only imagine how that just must feel like, you know, you're like the biggest hypocrite in the world kind of thing. And so I don't know if maybe it was like that kind of feeling, but I just think her reaction was a little bit much, so maybe something else was happening that was triggering her to react that way. Outside of the incident with her sister, she has had several instances where I believe alcohol definitely came into play. So first, when her dad had come into town, she had went to that party and she took her dad's car and she crashed it on the way back, you know, very early morning. So she had been partying all those hours. And if anyone has been to a college party, chances of there being alcohol is very high. You know, like, it's a college party. She was probably drinking. Just the fact that she is in a college town and she was coming home late and she crashed, you know, her own car into nothing. The fact that she actually wasn't tested for a DUI is just ridiculous to me. Like, it makes no sense in my mind, but there's no record of it. And so I know I can only make inferences. I'm just guessing she was probably a little bit tipsy or drunk, and so that's how she crashed her car. There was also the fact of the second car crash she got in before her disappearance. She had gone to the liquor store. She had bought in a bunch of liquor, like $40 worth. I mean, a bunch for one person, you know? And she had basically, you know, been driving. She got into her accident and they had found that some of the alcohol was missing. You know, 2 car accidents with the suggestion of alcohol being involved just doesn't seem so accidental to me. And so I think that alcohol was probably adding to her troubles. Like, imagine getting into a car crash and then a few days later getting into another one, and it just might have been like her breaking point. The next thing I want to talk about is her struggle with the law and school. I did not talk about this in part 1, but 3 months before her disappearance, Maura was charged with using a stolen credit card. I don't think she's criminal or, you know, like a bad person. I just think she made like bad decisions and terrible choices, and, you know, she did this bad thing. And having something like that happen, like getting arrested and kind of the humiliation of having to go through court, I definitely think that could affect a person. There was an officer that actually talked about her demeanor, and he didn't really have any bad things to say about her.
I remember she was young, but kind of scared, you know, being confronted by a police officer, but very cooperative and nice at the same time.
Like I said, she's not a criminal. She's just, you know, young, and she was stupid and making mistakes and bad choices. As for school, I had actually read somewhere that she had an honor code violation, which might have put her on the rocks with like her education, which definitely would have added a huge extra weight on her shoulders. Those things combined, I feel like, in like a short period of time, because, you know, getting arrested, having this whole trial thing happen, 2 car accidents, school issues, all of those issues to me could have added up to just something bigger, you know, all the personal issues she could have possibly had. So, you know, I mean, it could have caused anyone to kind of like break and want to get out of that headspace. Also, another point that I want to make is that she was planning like a road trip or a vacation or something without telling anybody. She had made several calls. She had looked up, you know, several map quests to find out like directions, how to get places. And so she had full intention of going somewhere else, and she didn't tell anyone. No one knew she was going. And so that's really strange, and that's a huge like, oh, ding ding ding, like she must have wanted to get away somewhere, and, you know, she was taking the steps to go do that. Also, on top of all of that, I found out that she was dating 2 men at the time that she disappeared. And one of them, I'm gonna butcher his name, it's Hoizine Baghdadi, but one of them said that she had often talked about actually running away and wanting to get away from her life. So that's also another red flag. Those are all my, you know, points that I want to make on that, but outside of that, there are other theories. People say that they think that she could have been kidnapped, that after her accident, maybe she had been picked up by someone else. And I can see some points there because there were no footprints going into the woods that were nearby. It was like snowy and there was no footprints leading to, you know, where she could have possibly gone. So I do see that as a possibility. But there are some things that make me go like, maybe not. It just doesn't make sense to me that she would deny the help of someone else on the road and, you know, deny them to get her help if she needed it. And then, you know, go to the next person, and within the time that that person called 911 and 911 got there, that she would just be gone and have gone with someone else. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, realistically, the time span, she would have to be like, oh no, I don't want help from this person, then go to another person and be like, oh hey, can you drive me somewhere? I just feel like that'd be really weird for her to just like quickly switch up, you know, and, you know, get out of there. Unless of course she was, you know, seen on the side of the road and then forced. But I think like, wouldn't police officers be able to see if there was a struggle or something at the scene of the car? Or maybe she like walked and was I don't know, but none of it just seems likely, because when the other driver walked by, she was just standing there next to her car. She wasn't like on the go, like walking away or anything. So it was just such a short time span to me, in my opinion, that it just seems like kind of unlikely. I feel like she might have just left on her own. I don't know if someone picked her up or maybe picked her up down the line, but yeah, I think it's a possibility. I honestly do think it's a possibility. I just don't think it's as big of a possibility as her, you know, doing all these things, planning to go on a vacation or a road trip and, you know, just kind of leaving town. Another theory is that she committed suicide, like maybe she walked away from the car and went into the woods to commit suicide. My biggest issue with that is, again, the footprints. There were no footprints leading, you know, from her car, which is completely strange in the first place, but you know, I wasn't there. It happened a very long time ago. What can I say? But that's really strange in the first place, which actually might be better for that whole kidnapping theory, but who knows? But yeah, I just don't think she would commit suicide and not leave behind, you know, her clothes. I mean, some of her items that she had on her are still missing to this day, like her backpack, her cell phone, her wallet. Like, those things are still missing. And a lot that I see with cases where people go missing and they end up like dead somewhere, or, you know, bodies found, like their belongings are usually found around the same vicinity or like maybe a little bit further away. There's another theory that she went into the woods and got lost and just died there. She had succumbed to the elements, things like that. And that's kind of the same thing as with the suicide thing. I'm like, I think they would find like clothes, or like by now someone would have found something of hers if she had went in the forest to commit suicide, or if she had gotten lost. I feel like someone would have found something, like one drop of her, you know. It would just make sense to me that they would have found something by now. So something else to kind of like, you know, add on to all of that, that kind of adds to my theory of her leaving on her own, is that because her belongings weren't found, it just makes sense that she would have just taken them with her. Like, she could have tossed her cell phone and just bought her wallet and her backpack with her and just, you know, kind of left the town with the things on her back. Of course, there are so many strange things about this case. Like, literally thinking about all the facts of this case make my brain hurt, because there are so many theories out there. There are so many things that could have happened to her, and for her not to have been found, and well, still not have been found, it's mind-boggling to me because it's been so long. And I honestly think it's possible that she could still be out there. Like, how was she able to run away in winter without help from somebody, without her car? How are her belongings like not able to have been found? How was anything from her, like her belongings, clothes from her, bones from her, nothing have been able to be found with all these theories? Just like, she literally disappeared without a trace. So guys, tell me what you guys think. Tell me what your theories are, and you know, if you guys want to make some points that maybe I might have skipped over, just comment down below. Regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.